If you are over 60, and you have noticed that your legs feel heavier on the stairs than they did 2 years ago, or that getting up from a low chair takes more effort than it should, I need you to stay with me for the next 10 minutes, because what most people assume is normal aging is actually something very specific, and something that responds directly to the right intervention. The problem is not that your body has stopped working, but that nobody has ever told you which stage you are actually at, and without knowing that, everything you try is either too little to work, or too much, too soon. Here is what I want you to understand before we go any further. There is a level, I am going to call it level 3, where most people over 60 are quietly stuck. It feels like progress. It looks like effort. And it is producing almost nothing in terms of actual muscle rebuilding. I will show you exactly why that happens, and exactly how to identify whether you are there. And there is something else you need to pay close attention to, a fact about protein that directly contradicts the advice most seniors have been following for years. Advice that is actively working against the very muscle they are trying to rebuild. That comes after we finish the diagnosis. Here is what is actually happening inside your body right now, and why this matters more after 60 than at any other point in your life. There is a process called anabolic resistance, which is the medical term for the fact that after 60, your muscles require a significantly stronger signal to trigger the same rebuilding response they once triggered so easily. Think of it this way. At 40, your muscle-building machinery was a reliable engine that started on the first turn of the key. After 60, that same engine needs more fuel, a stronger turn, and the right conditions, or it simply does not fire. According to the American College of Sports Medicine's evidence-based guidelines for sarcopenia, adults lose approximately 0.5 to 1% of skeletal muscle mass every single year after age 50, if they do nothing targeted to stop it. That sounds small, but compounded over a decade, it is the difference between carrying your own groceries and needing help with them. And here is the part that almost no channel covering this topic explains clearly. Walking does not reverse this. Gentle yoga does not reverse this. The only signal your aging muscles respond to is progressive resistance. Not movement. Resistance. Now that you understand why this is happening, let us find out exactly where you are in the process. I want you to think of the next 6 levels the way a doctor thinks about a diagnosis. We identify what is happening first, and then we build the treatment plan. The protocol comes after the diagnosis. Just grab a notebook and a pen and write down the points, because this could save you years of pain later by helping you stay independent. Level 1. Here is your test. Sit in a firm chair, cross your arms over your chest, and try to stand up without using your hands and without pushing off the armrests. If you cannot complete it, or if you get halfway up and have to grab something, you are at level 1. What this result tells you is not that you are weak. It tells you that the neuromuscular pathway between your brain and your leg muscles has gone significantly quiet from disuse. That pathway is like a road that has not been driven on for years. The muscle is still there underneath, but the signal that tells it to fire has become unreliable. A 2025 review published in the Open Access Sarcopenia Exercise literature describes this as neuromuscular inhibition, and the critical point is that it is reversible, at every age, including well into your 80s. The mistake most people at level 1 make is that they start walking more. Walking cannot restart this pathway. It requires a different kind of stimulus entirely, and I will show you exactly what that looks like after we finish the diagnosis. Now, if you pass that test, try this one for level 2. Stand at your kitchen counter, hold it lightly with both hands for safety, and do 10 slow bodyweight squats, taking 3 seconds to go down, pausing, and 3 seconds to come back up. If you needed the counter the entire time, or if you felt significant fatigue and shakiness by rep 6 or 7, you are at level 2. What your result is showing you is that your connective tissue, your tendons, your ligaments, and the stabilizing structures around your joints has not been loaded in a meaningful way for long enough that it has lost its readiness. Here is what almost nobody explains about this stage. Muscle does not grow until the scaffolding that supports it is strong enough to handle the load. Your body is not being uncooperative. It is being intelligent. It is refusing to build the wall until the foundation is stable. The mistake at level 2 is rushing to weights. Your connective tissue is not ready, and when it is not ready, and you load it anyway, the result is not progress. It is joint pain and a setback that pushes you back to level 1. If you passed level 2, here is the test for level 3. And I want you to pay close attention here, because this is the level I mentioned at the start. Stand away from the counter. No support. Do 10 bodyweight squats at a normal pace. If you completed all 10, without challenge, without your legs burning, and without feeling like reps 9 and 10 required genuine effort, you are at level 3. And this is where I need to be honest with you. Because level 3 is the most dangerous place on this entire list. Not because it is physically hard, but because it feels like you are doing something when you have actually stopped making progress entirely. The biological reason for this comes back to anabolic resistance. After 60, muscle protein synthesis, the process by which your body actually builds new muscle tissue, requires that the last 1 or 2 repetitions of a set feel genuinely difficult to complete. If they do not feel difficult, the threshold was never reached. The signal was never sent. Your muscles received the movement, but not the instruction to rebuild. This is why millions of seniors are doing bodyweight exercises consistently for years and seeing almost zero change. They are moving. They are not stimulating. The reason most people stay stuck at level 3 for years involves a protein fact that I am coming back to in a few minutes. And once you hear it, you will understand why those two problems are connected. Before that, level 4. If you are already doing resistance training, check your training log, or just think back honestly. Have your weights, your reps, or your sets changed at all in the last 4 weeks? If you are lifting the same dumbbells, doing the same number of reps, and finishing every set feeling like you could do 5 more without strain, you are at level 4. The mechanism here is straightforward, but almost universally misunderstood. I will show you why. Progressive overload is not one strategy among many for building muscle after 60. It is the only strategy. Your body adapts to a stimulus and then stops responding to it. The adaptation is the point. But once it happens, the stimulus must increase, or the body has no reason to continue building. Research on resistance training in older adults consistently shows that a plateau is not a sign that the body has maxed out. It is a sign that the signal has become too familiar. The mistake most people at level 4 make is adding more sessions. More frequency is not the variable. More challenge is. Now, level 5. Stand near a wall for safety. Lift 1 foot off the ground and try to hold your balance for 10 seconds without touching the wall. If your strength feels reasonable, but your balance is unreliable. If you wobble significantly, grab the wall before 10 seconds, or feel genuinely unsteady, you are at level 5. Here is the distinction that the research makes very clearly, and that almost no content in this space explains. Power and balance are neurologically separate from strength. A muscle that performs reliably in a controlled, predictable movement, like a squat or a press, can still fail in an unpredictable one, like catching yourself after a stumble. The neuromuscular coordination required to respond to an unexpected shift in balance is a different adaptation from the one produced by standard resistance training. It requires its own stimulus. And for adults over 60, this distinction is not academic. It is the difference between catching a fall and not catching one. Most people at level 5 believe their strength training covers this. It does not. And level 6. This one requires honesty. Think about the last 3 weeks. How many scheduled training sessions did you miss? And when you missed them, did you tell yourself that you had earned some rest, or that your fitness was solid enough to handle a break? If that sounds familiar, you are at level 6. The diagnosis here is something the research states unambiguously, and that I think most people find genuinely surprising. Your muscles have no memory of what you did last month. Muscle responds to current stimulus only. The adaptations you built over months of consistent training begin revering within 2 to 3 weeks of reduced stimulus. This is not a punishment. It is simply how muscle tissue works. The question at level 6 is not whether you need to keep training. It is what the minimum effective dose looks like to preserve everything you have built. I will give you that exact number after the next 2 things you need to hear. Before I give you the protocol, there are 2 things I want you to be honest with yourself about. First, the warning signs that mean you should see your doctor before your next workout. Unintentional weight loss, combined with visible muscle shrinkage. Dizziness or chest pain during any kind of exertion. Or a sudden drop in your training capacity that a week of rest has not improved. Any one of these is your body telling you something that exercise cannot solve on its own. Second, and this is something most fitness gurus will not tell you directly. If you are currently taking a statin medication for cholesterol, you need to know that statins can accelerate muscle breakdown as a side effect. And the majority of patients taking statins are never told this. That does not mean you should stop taking your medication. It means you should ask your doctor specifically about your medications and your muscle health at your next appointment. Because they will not usually raise the topic unless you do. And if creatine is something you are considering, which I will address in a moment, your kidney function needs to be confirmed first. That is not optional. Now the protocol. And here is where I want to address the things we discussed at the beginning. First, the protein fact. The recommendation most seniors have been given is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. I need to correct that figure directly because the current research does not support it for adults over 60. The Sarcopenia nutrition literature and the American College of Sports Medicine now point to 1 to 1.2 grams per kilogram per day as the appropriate target for older adults. And in many cases, up to 1.6 grams per kilogram when active muscle rebuilding is the goal. But here is the part that matters more than the daily total. Because of anabolic resistance, your muscles cannot use a large single dose of protein efficiently. A 70-gram protein shake once a day does not produce the same muscle protein synthesis as 25 to 30 grams at breakfast, 25 to 30 grams at lunch, and 25 to 30 grams at dinner. The per meal threshold is the variable that most seniors are missing entirely. Not the daily total. Eggs, Greek yogurt, canned fish, lean meats. These are not expensive. This is a 10-cent solution, not a supplement requirement. Second, the training formula. 2 to 3 resistance training sessions per week, built around the major movement patterns. Something that involves your legs pushing, your hips hinging, your arms pushing and pulling, and carrying something. Apply progressive overload every 2 to 3 weeks. Add a small amount of weight, or 1 more repetition per set. That is the entire progression rule. According to a 2014 meta-analysis on creatine and resistance training in older adults, confirmed by multiple replication studies through 2025. Adding creatine monohydrate at 3 to 5 grams per day, alongside resistance training, produces meaningful additional gains in lean muscle mass and functional strength, beyond training alone. Specifically, it improves chair-stand performance, which is a direct measure of everyday independence. If your kidney function is stable and your doctor approves, this is worth discussing. The timeline for visible, measurable change is 12 to 24 weeks of consistent training. Not 4 weeks. Not 8 weeks, you need at least 12 to 24 weeks. A 68-year-old man who added twice-weekly resistance training and 30 grams of protein per meal saw his chair-stand performance improve within 16 weeks and his golf distance return within 6 months. Not because he found a miracle protocol, but because he finally gave his body the two signals it had been waiting for. Now, one small caution from my side for those of you who do not know how to discuss this with your doctor. Bring 2 questions with you, written down on paper. Ask your doctor how much protein per meal is appropriate for my weight and my kidney function specifically. And ask which resistance exercises are safe given my current medications and any joint issues I have. These are not challenges to your doctor. They are tools to help your doctor help you. And a physician who knows you are asking these questions will take your muscle health more seriously than one who assumes you are not thinking about it. Now, I want to hear from you. Type your level in the comments. Just the number 1 through 6. And tell me whether it surprised you. Whether the level you thought you were at turned out to be different from the one the test revealed. I read every comment on this channel. And the reason I am asking is that your answer tells me exactly what I should cover next. Now, back to our topic. Every piece of this comes back to one thing. Your ability to get up from a chair without help, carry your own groceries, walk into your own kitchen, and cook your own meal. That is what muscle is actually protecting. Not a number on a lab result. Your life as you want to live it. And the research on this across every age group studied, including adults well into their 80s, is unambiguous. It is not too late. The levels I just walked you through exist because rebuilding is possible at every single one of them. You now know where you are. That is the hardest part. In the next video, I am covering something that quietly cancels out the progress of almost everyone at level 3 and above. Most people have been doing it every single morning for decades without knowing what it is costing them. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss it.